You've done the work, you hit the goal. And somehow, even after all that, you still feel like you are playing a character who did those things, not the person who actually earned them. That weird gap between what has changed on the outside and what still feels true on the inside has a name. It is called your self-image, and whether you notice it or not, it quietly shapes the opportunities you go for, the people you feel comfortable around, the habits that stick, and the kind of life that feels normal to you. So today, we are going to take it apart. What it is made of, why it resists updates, and how to rewrite it without fake confidence or empty affirmations. You can get the promotion, lose the weight, land the relationship, build the thing, and still walk around feeling like someone who got lucky. Like the real version of you is still back there somewhere, and this current version is just borrowing someone else's life for a while. It has nothing to do with ingratitude, nothing to do with a lack of motivation. The experience is stranger than either of those. Basically, your life can change faster than your brain's picture of you does. You change what you were doing, but a part of you still has not updated who you think you are while doing it. That is the problem. Results can move quickly. New job, new body, new habits, new city, sometimes in weeks. But the story you carry about yourself usually moves much slower. It does not update just because your calendar, bank account, or mirror changed. So you end up living in this weird split-screen existence where the outside looks different, but the inside feels exactly the same. I noticed this in myself a few years ago after a stretch where a lot of things changed on paper, but I kept waking up feeling the same. Most people, when they notice this mismatch, try to fix it by doing more. More goals, more habits, more ambition, more discipline. That makes sense. It worked before, at least on the surface. But if the identity underneath stays the same, the new behavior has to fight uphill every day. Think of your self-image as an operating system. The habits, the routines, the 5 a.m. alarm you set with full sincerity on a Sunday night, those are apps. Your self-image is the operating system underneath them. It determines which apps can run, which ones crash on launch, and which ones you quietly uninstall after 3 days because they just didn't feel right. There's an entire industry built on selling you better apps, new journal, new routine, new word of the year, and then we wonder why nothing sticks. Nothing sticks because the operating system rejects it. You installed a habit that belongs to someone confident, someone disciplined, someone who believes they deserve the result. But your OS is still running person who gets by, or person who peaks early, or person who doesn't really belong in rooms like that. The app crashes every time. Self-image and confidence are different animals. Confidence is a feeling. It comes and goes. Self-esteem is how much you like yourself. Self-image is deeper and less dramatic than both of those. It's the quiet, persistent blueprint of who you believe yourself to be. And you carry it into every room, every conversation, every decision, usually without knowing it's there. The way I think about it, self-image has 4 layers. Not because you need to memorize them, but because it explains why simple advice like just believe in yourself usually does nothing. The first layer is self-concept, the basic description you carry around of who you are. Almost like the private Wikipedia page you wrote about yourself years ago and forgot to update. It sounds like, I am good with numbers, but bad at small talk, or I am creative, but disorganized, or I am reliable, but kind of boring. And a lot of those sentences were edited by people who may not have understood you that well in the first place. The second layer is self-worth, what you quietly believe you deserve. This is why 2 people with similar ability can end up in completely different places. One negotiates the salary. The other accepts the first offer and tells themselves they should be grateful. Same ability, different internal floor. The third layer is self-efficacy. Albert Bandura spent decades studying this, your belief in your own capability. And the annoying part is, it changes by area. You might feel completely capable in the kitchen and completely helpless when it comes to public speaking. Same person, different self-image in a different room. That stuck with me when I first read about it, because it explains why people can have the skill and still not use it. What you believe you can handle changes what you even attempt. The fourth layer is your self-ideal, the version of you that you are reaching toward. That gap between who you think you are and who you are trying to become is where a lot of the discomfort lives. If the gap is too small, you stop growing. If it feels impossibly large, you stop trying. Most advice only talks to the first layer. Change the story, change the person. But a lot of the time, self-worth is the layer quietly making the decisions underneath. There's a difference between I want to run a marathon and I'm a runner. Sounds like semantics, but it made a huge difference. The person who wants to run a marathon makes decisions about running. Should I run today? How far? Is it raining? Am I sore? Every run becomes a negotiation. Every day is a new argument with themselves. And when the marathon is over, the running usually stops. Because the goal was the finish line, not the identity. The person who's a runner just runs. They're not more disciplined. Running is what people like them do. The decision has already been made at the identity level, so the behavior has less to argue with. James Clear puts it well. Every action is a vote for the type of person you want to become. The part people miss is that they are often still voting for an outcome, not for an identity. They want the marathon medal, the salary, the body, and they work backward from the result, building systems to get there, which works for a while, right up until the self-image catches up and says, this isn't really us, is it? You didn't get a new you. You got the same you, holding a new water bottle. Because there's a loop running underneath all of this, and it's more mechanical than you'd think. Your self-image works like a thermostat. You set it to 68 degrees, or more accurately, it got set to 68 degrees somewhere around middle school, and nobody updated it since. The thermostat does what thermostats do. It maintains the set point. When the room gets too hot, when you succeed beyond what your self-image says is normal for someone like you, the system kicks in and cools things down. You self-sabotage. You procrastinate on the follow-through. You get the promotion and immediately start waiting to be found out. You lose the weight and somehow gain it back within a year. You meet someone great and pick a fight about nothing 2 weeks in. When the room gets too cold, when you fall below your self-image's floor, the system kicks in the other direction. You rally. You pull it together just enough to get back to the set point. Never above it, just back to normal. This is why some people hover at the same income level for years, despite changing jobs, industries, even cities. Same reason people keep recreating the same relationship dynamics with completely different partners. The thermostat doesn't care about the details. It cares about the temperature. The sneaky part, the part that keeps people stuck, is that the thermostat doesn't feel like sabotage. It feels like being realistic. It sounds like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Or, I should probably be grateful for what I have. Or, who am I to think I could pull that off? That's just your thermostat wearing a sensible cardigan. That loop is not mystical. You believe something about yourself, you act in ways that fit that belief, the results seem to prove it, and then the belief gets stronger, and it keeps going until you interrupt it somewhere deeper than the habit tracker. Which brings up the thing everyone tries first, and why it usually feels so fake. Act as if. You've heard it 1,000 times. Want to be confident. Act confident. Want to be successful. Act like a successful person. Walk into the room like you own it. Speak like you belong. Fake it till you make it. On the surface, this makes sense. There's real research behind embodied cognition. Your body can actually influence your emotional state. Standing differently can shift how you feel. The principle is fine, but the execution is where it falls apart. Because when most people try to act as if, they're in a meeting, trying to act confident, and their internal monologue sounds something like, is this working? Do I look weird? I think I look weird. Okay, stop thinking about whether you look weird. That's definitely making you look weird. Your brain hears pretending. And once it hears pretending, it goes looking for evidence that you're a fraud. It's remarkably efficient at finding that evidence, the world's best detective, but only when it comes to confirming what it already believes. Acting as if is not useless, though. It just misses the part that matters most. You cannot only change the performance. You have to change what you are noticing while you perform. A genuinely confident person in a room full of strangers notices different things. They catch the person who smiled at them instead of building an entire story around the person who did not look up. They remember the one moment that went fine, not just the awkward pause. So the better question is, what would this version of you pay attention to? And what would they let pass? That is where the deeper work starts, because underneath the performance are beliefs you may not even realize you are running. Try an exercise. Finish this sentence. People like me don't. Don't think too hard, just finish it. Whatever came up, that's the ceiling. That's the invisible boundary your self-image enforces without your conscious permission. Maybe it was, people like me don't make that kind of money. Or maybe it was, people like me don't speak up in rooms like that. Maybe it was something quieter, something about love or belonging or safety that you didn't even know was there until just now. Psychologists would call these unconscious associations, beliefs operating below awareness, shaping behavior before the conscious mind gets a vote. And you cannot really challenge a belief you have never named. That is why self-image work can feel frustrating. You keep changing the beliefs you can say out loud, while the ones actually running the show stay hidden. Family systems, early social experiences, the offhand comment a teacher made when you were 9 that lodged itself somewhere deep and became policy. Something your parents said about people who have money, or people who are too confident, or people who want too much. You absorbed it as data, and your self-image filed it as truth. Want to level up your people skills? Join our YouTube membership for early access to scripts, input on future topics, and connection with a community that gets the social struggle. Click join below, and let's master human interaction together. And the weird part, these beliefs don't always sound negative. Sometimes they sound responsible. People like me don't take risks like that. Sounds like wisdom. I'm just not a creative person. Sounds like self-awareness. I don't really need that much. Sounds like humility. They are all ceilings. And the first job is not to smash through them. It is simply to see them clearly enough that they stop pretending to be reality. Once a belief is visible, it usually loses some of its grip. You start hearing it as a sentence you inherited, not as a law of the world. Your self-image is not just built from the inside. Back in 1902, Charles Horton Cooley Introduce the looking glass self. The idea that part of who you think you are comes from your guess about how other people see you. And the dangerous word there is guess. The other person might see you completely differently, but you are reacting to the mirror you imagine. That is why you can feel competent at work, then walk into Thanksgiving dinner, and suddenly reboot into the 2009 version of yourself. The environment didn't change your skills, it changed the mirror you were looking into. You know the feeling. The moment you walk through that door, something in you reboots to the 2009 version of yourself. And somehow you're in an argument about something that doesn't matter, and you're 16 years old again. Different people activate different versions of you. Your college friends get a different person than your coworkers get. Your partner sees someone your parents have never met. So part of the work is being honest about which mirrors you have been trusting and which ones are warped. And once you understand that, it becomes easier to see why the usual advice can backfire. They try affirmations. You've read the books, you understand the problem. And someone, maybe a therapist, maybe a podcast host, maybe an Instagram post with a sunset background, tells you to start with affirmations. Stand in front of the mirror and say, I am confident. Say, I am worthy. Say, I am enough. Repeat until you believe it. The research says the opposite can happen. In 2009, Joanne Wood and colleagues had participants repeat the phrase, I am a lovable person. People who already felt good about themselves felt slightly better. People who did not felt worse. Your brain does not just accept it, it argues back. And unfortunately, it has receipts. It starts pulling files, every awkward interaction, every failed attempt, every time you back down when you wish you had not. The affirmation does not overwrite the belief. It wakes up the counter evidence. So what works better? Bridge statements. Language your brain can actually accept without immediately fighting you. Instead of, I am confident, try, I am becoming someone who handles difficult conversations. Instead of, I am wealthy, try, I am learning to make decisions about money without fear. You are not pretending your whole history never happened. You are giving your brain a believable next step. And what actually changes identity is usually less dramatic than people expect. The strange part is that you know a behavior is becoming part of you when you stop noticing it so much. There is this tendency online to celebrate every small win like it is a personal revolution. You drank water today? Incredible. You did not check your phone for 4 minutes? Growth. I understand the impulse. Positive reinforcement matters. But there is a hidden cost to treating every normal behavior like a breakthrough. It keeps the behavior in the special category, and special things are fragile. They need motivation. Normal things just happen. The goal is to reach the point where skipping the workout feels a little strange. The same way leaving the house without brushing your teeth feels strange. Nobody celebrates brushing their teeth. That is the level of normal you are aiming for. Because when the behavior becomes automatic, it stops being something you do and starts being something you are. The gap between the action and the identity closes. So make the new behavior boring. Not dramatic, not content, just normal. When someone comments on it and you think, oh, I just do that, that is when it is starting to land. But the early stage has one fragile window people rarely talk about. For about 48 hours after the first real shift, you are in the most vulnerable part of the process. Your old self-image does not show up as a villain. It shows up as a sensible friend who just wants you to be comfortable. It sounds like, okay, you proved your point. You do not need to do that again. Or the classic, let's not make this a whole thing. That is what makes it dangerous.
I'm in danger.
It sounds like your own good judgment. What it actually is, in that first 48-hour window, is the thermostat switching on. 3 things help. First, expect the voice. When it shows up, you do not need to panic or turn it into a whole identity crisis. You can just go, oh, there it is. Second, repeat the behavior soon. Not because repetition is magic, but because the second time tells your brain, this was not a random event. It was a policy change. And third, this one matters. Do not wait to feel confident before you do it again. The discomfort is not proof you are doing it wrong. It is often proof the old identity is being asked to stretch. That same discomfort is why imposter syndrome stops so many people. The usual advice is, fake it till you make it, which is about as helpful as telling a nervous person to just relax. The better reframe is simpler. Imposter syndrome usually means you have already entered a new room, and your self-image has not caught up yet. You only feel like an imposter in rooms you have actually entered. The feeling is proof that you have moved. Identity lag? That is all it is. Most people read that discomfort as a signal to retreat, but sometimes the room is not wrong. The self-image is just late. They feel the gap between where they are and who they think they are, and they assume the location is wrong rather than the self-image. The actual move is to let the imposter feeling exist without taking orders from it. Stay long enough for the self-image to catch up to the circumstance. This part is not fun, and I am not going to make it fun. When you change your self-image, really change it, not just redecorate it, you lose someone, the old version of you. That version, even when it held you back, was familiar. It fit in a way new things do not fit yet. People don't usually talk about this in self-improvement content. The old self gets treated like a villain. like dead weight, like something you should be grateful to leave behind. That framing misses what actually happens when you're in it. It feels like loss, because it is. The quiet version of you that never spoke up in meetings, that person kept you safe for years. The version of you that stayed small so other people would feel comfortable had a logic to them. The version that said, I don't really need that much, was protecting you from the pain of wanting something and not getting it. You don't have to honor those patterns forever. You can acknowledge what they did for you before you let them go. Write a letter to your old self, a grateful one, not a dismissive one. Thank them for getting you this far, and mean it. And then, gently, let them know you're going somewhere they can't follow. This step is what separates people who transform from people who just perform a better version of the same stuck identity. Once you begin letting the old version go, the internal conversation changes. Pay attention to how you talk about yourself when nobody is listening, the small comments under your breath, the running narration of your day. Your brain hears trying, and trying can become a permanent approach, an endless runway with no takeoff. I am working on being more confident can quietly keep you always in progress, never arrived. Compare that to, I'm someone who handles things, or I finish what I start, or I'm the kind of person who shows up. The difference goes beyond semantics. Athletes who use identity-based self-talk, like I am a finisher, outperform those using motivational self-talk, like I can do this, in endurance tasks. The identity statement places you inside the role, while motivational self-talk keeps you outside of it, pushing to get in. You don't lie to yourself, though. You don't say, I am a billionaire, while checking your overdraft. You say, I'm someone who's changing how I relate to money. Present tense, active, real enough for your brain to accept, specific enough to mean something. And watch for the qualifiers. I'm kind of a writer, or I sort of work out, or I guess I'm creative. Those qualifiers are the self-image hedging its bets, keeping one foot in the old identity just in case the new one doesn't work out. Drop them. You do not need perfect certainty before you speak differently about yourself. You need enough commitment to stop giving the old identity a backup room to hide in. If you do this long enough, if you stay consistent, let the old self go, and change the way you speak about yourself, something quiet starts to happen. It shows up on a Tuesday, in some unremarkable moment. Someone asks you a question, and you answer it without rehearsing. Someone pushes back on something, and you hold your ground without the internal earthquake. You look in the mirror, and the person looking back matches the person you've been building not perfectly, but close enough that the gap doesn't ache anymore. Your past self starts to feel like someone you used to know, someone you're fond of, even, but whose problems you no longer carry. That's just distance, the kind that comes from having actually moved. And the part people rarely mention is that this does not end. The person you are now will eventually become another old version, another set of assumptions that needs updating. That is not a failure. It is just what growth asks of you. Your self-image is not a finished portrait. It is something you keep revising as your life gives you new evidence. So the mechanism is clear. Your self-image has layers you did not fully choose, and it tries to pull you back to whatever feels familiar. The mirrors around you reinforce it. Your language reinforces it. Your repeated behavior reinforces it. And your willingness to release the old version of you gives the new one room to breathe. Your consistency matters more than your intensity. One day of actually showing up teaches your brain more than a month of planning to become someone who shows up. And your patience matters, because the moment it starts to feel normal usually arrives quietly. You do not become that version all at once. You become them in small, repeated moments until one day it stops feeling like an act. Learn something new? Hit that like button, share it with others, tap subscribe, and stick around for more. Got thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments.